Thank you, Jim, and good afternoon to all of you. As was mentioned, it is very apropos that Fayetteville State is represented here today in my presence and of the other members here who support it, because our legacy is intertwined with that of a time period that we are going to acknowledge with the presence of our new center. If you think about it, we're celebrating our 150th anniversary now, our sesquicentennial. We were founded in 1867, only a couple years after the executive order was issued by Lincoln for Emancipation Proclamation, followed by the 13th Amendment freeing the slaves. And so our existence occurred at a time that was so critical in history. And as I said to a group of students I was talking to yesterday, I said, you really don't think just because those documents appeared that the Klan stopped riding around terrorizing people, do you? Okay, because they didn't. They didn't. And so we survived and thrived through that time period, through Reconstruction, through Jim Crow, through the Civil Rights Movement, etc., to stand where we are today. And so, again, it is very apropos that our histories are intertwined with this center. There are various outcomes that will occur via the existence of this center. Jim mentioned one, and that is that we'll realize an educational mission that is far beyond that of any individual institution in the city. It's a historical mission. It's an informational mission. We also, in a practical sense, will become more of a destination city to visitors, together with the new stadium and the new hotel, etc. So this will contribute economically to the city. But I just want to leave you with a thought about something that I think that's the most important outcome and might not get mentioned enough. And that is the outcome that exists when people with shared stories about their history, who are completely different from one another, when they realize their shared stories have a shared meaning, okay? We divide them up because we divide people up by race, we divide people up geographically, we divide people up by a whole lot of artificial categories. But you know, when the stories begin to merge and we begin to see that those stories have similarities, we then move to what I call an intellectual empathy. An intellectual empathy that just information alone can't give you. And I'll just leave you with 3 examples. When I ride down Hay Street and I go around the market house, or I go past the market house, and there are other people who do it every day and never think at all about the market house. But every time I ride by it, or if I'm walking in down there at night, I hear the wailings of the slave auctions. I hear the children crying who were torn from their mothers when they were being sold. I see the whip marks on the back of the slaves being sold. You see, I still empathize with it. I wasn't there. I know all the information, but it has meaning for me. By the same token, I need to hear the shared story of the mother, the grandmother, the sister who had a Confederate son, just a lowly conscript who fought in the war and was killed, and their anguish at his death, and their need to want to honor that person, and their love for that person. If I don't empathize with that, then I'll never understand the perspective of that person or that group. Or maybe I have a good friend who's the leading scholar in the country on the narratives of slave children. What about the slave children from North Carolina? Actually, I'm going to call her, Maryland. I'm going to call her and ask her, in her research, can she bundle up stuff that she's done on the narratives of slave children? Because in learning about the narratives of slave children, which most often were written by their mothers, their feelings about slavery were written by their mothers. Now we hear the often silent voice of women during the Civil War, and now we give praise to women. Now we share their feelings. So think about 3 different perspectives, okay? Maybe one of the reasons that some people don't understand when people talk about Black Lives Matter now is because they don't understand they never mattered. Market House tells you they never mattered. And so we just simply are following a time span that brings us to a point where it's okay. to just shoot down innocent black men because it never mattered back then. By the same token, we African Americans have to understand that there are whites who support and honor the death of their loved ones during the Confederacy. I can have different feelings about the Confederacy, but I can still empathize with the death of a loved one. So, intellectual empathy, that's the way I think about an outcome that's really important, not just gathering information. Again, Fayetteville State University, very, very honored to be part of this celebration and to be part of the development of the center. Thank you.